valuable inputs from all of these great personalities. So next up is a session for design thinking. After like follow up for the yesterday's section, which will be prototype and testing for the design thinking part, and it will be facilitated by Mr. Heminda Jayavira. He is a serial innovator and the co-founder of Venture Frontier Sri Lanka, and also the chairman of Nanotech Technology in Sri Lanka. So without further ado, I will give the platform to Mr. Heminda Jayavira. So over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you for the introduction. And so one of the things that you have to understand is I used to do this particular design thinking exercise as group work. So bear with me. Now we can do some group work, but then doing it over Zoom would be a bit tough one. But let's try to manage it somehow. So basically, I would like to have at least a few teams among you. I don't know how you do it. Whether it's a possibility to do that.
Yes, I think there are teams and we can break them out in a team groups.
We already have teams, or we
We already have teams
are at how many
for the
teams?
all of there are 42 teams. Like I'm not sure whether all of them are available here, but I think we can open the rooms for 42 teams and they can join their respective team group. Like if you are doing the teams
How many teams altogether?
altogether, like there are 42 teams, but like because I'm not sure like whether all of them are present here, so we can
That's
open
okay.
the
That's okay. But let's go ahead with the teams already there.
yeah.
So we don't have to worry about that part. But ideally, right? I would like to have a team with 6 to 8 people each team. Ideally, it,
If that's the case,
it
we can just break them out.
right. Okay. So if it differ from that, that's okay. Let's do it that way. So let me share my screen. Hope you can see it.
Yes, it is as well.
Yeah. Okay. So what we're trying to do today is actually what generally known as a rapid prototyping exercise. So it's basically based out of design thinking. Uh, the model used is basically design thinking. So I'll explain bit on design thinking, and then we'll go to the small exercise. So then exercise is basically developed for you to understand a little bit more, so to gain, I mean, rather than just doing a 2 hour lecture, I want you to do it and understand it. So that's why the rapid prototyping session is developed. So rapid prototyping is basically it's a method. This particular method I learned from a guy called Tom Chi. He was the one of the co-founders of Google X. He's the one who, in fact, co-founder of Google Glass as well. Whether if you remember this particular device that it's like a spectacle and everything. It's a AR developed inside. So that particular device was actually developed by this guy Tom Chi and few others. So I learned this entire model from him about 3-4 years ago in San Francisco. He's of course no longer at Google X, but now he runs his own consultancy firm on rapid prototyping to design thinking to all that. So basically, the model, what he says is even in a company, I mean, for example, if it is Google X, they can develop a product of as complex as, say, Google Glass. If you do it rightly, within 24 hours they can even develop something of that complex. So that's the model. They call it rapid prototyping. So of course you need some uh, uh, the real you know support in terms of infrastructure, the devices, to all that to do and fiddle with them. But then the idea behind is, it's even if you have them in a lot of environment, you can't do it in 24 hours. But here, this particular model is developed, so you can really do it really fast, and of course test it, and then get the feedback as well. Now, the exercise we are going to do today is something again similar to that. Of course, we don't have even 24 hours, we have only 2 hours. So what we are trying to do is to run through the entire exercise within like 30 to 40 minutes, and see how it affects, how it, the entire design thinking cycle. Of course, rapid prototyping is based out of design thinking. So before going in there, let me explain what is design thinking. This is theory part, by the way. Maybe not so, maybe the boring part, but there are very important things that you have to understand when it comes to design thinking, why it differ from normal thinking. For example, there are people talk about scientific thinking, right? That is what you have learned when you were small, to maybe in university, to all that. There's a methodology called scientific thinking. Does it differ from design thinking? What do you think? It actually there's a huge difference between scientific thinking and design thinking. Why? Of course, you can develop products, you can innovate, you can invent products using scientific thinking as well. But the problem with scientific thinking is it takes a long time. So scientific thinking is actually for scientific discoveries, and but then may not be ideal for product designing. So take product to the market. So as you know, there's a difference between invention and innovation. Invention may be something you develop new to the world, but innovation is you take that product to the market as well. So there's a very important thing which you generally forget. Generally, inventing is only about 30 to 40% of your work of innovation. So innovation is a much harder thing to do. It's not about just inventing something, but you have to take that product to the market as well, which is the harder part generally. So design thinking is formulated to fast track the whole A to Z, which is not just idea, not just invention, but take that product to market as well to complete the entire innovation life cycle. So one of the very important things that you have to understand is some of the words mentioned here. So if you look at empathize, that's the first step of design thinking. Anybody heard about this word? Very important word. This is not sympathizing, by the way. This is empathizing. So I'll give you one example. Say, if you want to develop a product for uh, say old people, right? Just giving an example only. So if 3 or 4 young people like you know, get together and brainstorm and come up with a product, does it work? I think 90% of the time it will fail, right? But ideally, what you have to do is you have to actually think like a old person, or maybe if you can't think like a old person, you have to go and meet quite a few of old people, speak to them, understand their issues, problems, right? And be like, and try to be in their shoes, right? So that is what you call empathizing. So without empathizing, what design thinking teaches you is you can't develop a product what really needed for the particular audience, right? So the design thinking start with empathizing. Now, in most of the other cases, for example, if I ask you to say environment problem, come up with a solution. So generally what happens is you will start looking at solutions, right? But that's a wrong concept, right? That's not the way to go, right? Ideally, what should happen is you have to start with, go and see who are the people who are affected by, say, particular environment issue, speak to them, try to understand the real issue behind it, right? And then understand or empathize those people who are affected. And these people are the people whom you are going to give that product at the end of the day. So that empathizing part is the first part. And then second one is defining. Here, defining is again not about the solution. You are trying to define the problem. What exactly is the problem? So this is why most of the products fail. People think this is the problem and try to develop a product for them. But sometimes in 90% of the cases, what happens is you have not really identified the real problem. I'll give you one good example. About 6 years ago, a group of students from Sri Lankan University, they came to me, three software engineers and one transportation management student. They wanted to come up with a solution for this problem of trains getting delayed in Sri Lanka. Because in Sri Lanka, uh, until you go to the railway station, you don't know. Even at the railway station, you never know whether train is going to get delayed or not. Sometimes you wait in the railway station for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or maybe more. The situation is worse when you go out stations where there are less trains, but there's no way that you can understand it. So what happens is, so these guys came up with a model. They said there are about 300 to 400 railways that go here and there every day in Sri Lanka. Let's plant a GPS unit in every train engine, right? Global positioning system, not very costly, maybe um, say $50 or something. So you plants one of those in every train, and then develop a IoT based system. So you get the signal from the internet onto an app. So on the app, it will show all the trains where they are moving. And then if there are any delays, you can do a bit of a calculation and tell at any given point of time, this train is going to get delayed at this particular station. So then you don't have to wait in the station. You can just leave the home and come to station on time when the train is coming. So very simple solution. It looks perfect, right? And these guys are, I know, they're technically very sound. I know they can develop it, all that. But then I realized there's a problem, right? So then what I told them, I asked them to go through the design thinking process, go and meet the people, or rather empathize the people, not just the users, but all the stakeholders as well. So go and speak to a few passengers who face this issue every day. Maybe go and meet the railway station master, go and meet the railway general manager or the technical people, drivers, all that. And let me know whether it's the situation, the solution is still the same after 1.5 months. So in fact, they took about 2 to 3 months to, go through the entire process. Of course, they were studying and they were doing it, so they had little time to go and do all. But then I asked them to run through the design thinking process. So maybe 2 months later, they came and say, our solution is not going to work. Simple as that, right? So in fact, I saved their time, money, everything. They were actually getting ready to buy GPS units as well. So what exactly happened was, it's not a technical issue. It's a soft issue that they couldn't. They identified the real problem. They defined the problem in a better way. What they understood is that in Sri Lanka, I don't know about the other countries, but in Sri Lanka, uh, the Railway Drivers Association is one of the strongest uh, uh, bodies in the country. I mean, they can, in a split of a second decision, they can even stop the entire railway in the country. So that's that powerful, right? Powerful than the political system. So they don't like somebody picking or tracking them. For example, the moment the GPS units, uh, you know, uh, you know, fixed onto their railway, engines, they feel that somebody is tracking them, right? And one of the known fact is that they always break the speed limits at any lot of places, and there are no police to stop them or police them. And the moment you have the GPS units, everybody can, even the normal public can say, okay, oh, this train is now breaking the speed limit. So they didn't like it. So that's the biggest problem. Nothing technical. And of course, the method that they wanted to implement was to fix them onto the engine, that the engine drivers will never allow. So that's the problem. So that's so so they took 2 months or 1.5 months, and they understood the real problem behind it. So solution looks very simple, but actually it's not. It's more complicated than that. So I asked them, come up with a better solution, right? If they really want to solve this big problem, come up with a better solution. So of course, they couldn't come up with a solution, but maybe a year later, another group of people actually came up with a much better solution. Now, actually, there's a much better solution implemented in Sri Lanka Railway. So that's defining the problem. Then comes actually the ideating. Ideating part is actually what you talk about, coming up with solutions, right? So out of design thinking entire process until the third step, I'm not asking about solution. So this is the difference between some of the other methods and design thinking. So design thinking takes maybe half of the time to empathize and understand the problem first, more than trying to come up with solutions. So trying to come up with solution after you fully confirm that you have defined the problem in the best way. So then you come up with ideation. This ideation is about brainstorming to maybe converging, diverging, all that, and you come up with probably the best few ideas that will solve the problem. Then out of that, you pick one, and then maybe you go to the next step, which is prototyping. Prototyping can happen in different ways. You can be very simple. Prototyping steps could be like prototyping, maybe just sketch something, maybe just build something as with the easiest the methods, right? Maybe something that you're trying to do today in the limited time, or it could be a prototype of which have all the ingredients, maybe work 80% of the time correctly, right? So the proper prototype as well. Then what you're doing is the last step, which is again very important. You test that product, and remember, you test this product not by the software engineers or whoever who developed it. You test this product with the same people you empathize at the start. So remember the difference, right? So a lot of cases, what happens is you develop a product. Sometimes the people who develop the product also test it, or maybe you give the product to test for people who are in the same organization. Maybe we call them QA engineers to all that. So it doesn't work, right? It will never work in real design thinking process. You have to test the product with the same people you empathize. So that's the most important part. So you actually test the product with the probable customers or the users. So this is what design thinking process. But remember, this is just one step, but you have to run it many a times until you fine tune the product. So sometimes it could be even 100 times, the same process, right? But key to real achieving something, or at the end of the day, achieving something, a really fantastic product innovation, you have to run this cycle really fast. And each time when you run the cycle, you improve the product, right? Which is much more suitable for the end customer. So that's the secret of design thinking. So design thinking is not about taking years and years of experiment and finally putting a product to the market. No, this is the moment you thought about the idea, also you put the product to the market, right? Put the product to the market, test it, right? As I said, within 24 hours, you can come up with a prototype even as good as a Google Glass, right? So you put the product to the market, get the feedback, redefine it, and run the cycle over again and again. So that is what you call design thinking. So hope you understood the basics of design thinking. If there are any questions, you can ask me before moving into the small exercise we are going to do. We can go into it straight away.
There's a question in the chat. How do we test the prototype when it is a service?
If you can define what's a service here. So for example, if it is a product like a telecommunications product service or something like that, or what is a service here? If the same person who asked the question, if you can tell me. In fact, testing services are much easier than testing a product.
Yes, you can unmute and ask the question.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So my question was, how do we test a prototype when it's a service? And when I say a service, I mean a service that we are offering at a global level. It's a service originated from different parts of the country, which are underdeveloped or developing, but not the developed ones. And we are offering a kind of service
You know,
to elevate uh, something that is socioeconomic in the world. So how do we test a service that is for the upliftment of the society?
so you have to define the. I mean, the way you test a product or a service or even a thinking process, right? Innovation could be either product or process. The product can be a product or service, right? I mean, service. The differentiation of a service is basically you don't consume it, right? Product you might consume it. I mean, it's a tangible thing that you get it, but service could be something maybe you travel in a bus, right? You buy a ticket, and you use that service, right? Something like that, right? So that also can be tested very easily, right? I mean, you let the person travel in the bus and you test it. So I mean, if you can give me the exact service that you're looking saying telling, I mean, want to test, then I can answer that. But generally service can be tested very easily. You let the people who empathize to go through that service. Of course, what happens is if it's a prototype, it may not have all the features, but you can so if it is a I mean, there are product as service, right? Software as service, right? You can ask the customer
Uh,
to go through that, you know, uh, book the service, go through that all that part, right? So you can test it very easily. Is it something you are
yeah.
yeah, a particular service something different?
So I was talking about a service like we are from SDG. So our agenda is for inequality for the youth. We need to remove the inequality, and there are kind of ideas that we are working upon. So one of the ideas was to open a platform for all the youth who are underprivileged for them to study online, for them to study online, and in a way that they get a course opportunity, an internship opportunity, and a job opportunity at the same platform. So how do we test that particular prototype?
So you have to develop something. I don't say that you have to develop the. I'll give you one good example. Uh, Doing prototypes are not that difficult if you want to test it and get these messages across. Now, for example, I remember there was this very important incident happened in 1980s. This is before all this technology advancement, but they actually, I think it was Microsoft who was testing a service, right? A service that, of course, is a product as well. But if it's what you generate is a service, you want to have the voice to text service. I mean, today it's very simple, right? You have apps and everything, right? You talk and you get everything typed onto your computer, right? But I'm talking about 1980s. They didn't have this technology. I mean, these are now, of course, you have the AI to all this inbuilt. This is before that. So they wanted to see whether before getting into real development phase, because that costs a lot of money, right? And this is 1980, very pre-era before AI and all that. So they wanted to test whether really the people really want this product. So what they did was they announced that saying that they have already developed this product or the service where you can get uh, voice to text service. So you just speak onto a speaker or microphone or whatever, and then the computer will automatically turn that voice into text, right? So that was the service. So they announced that. They asked, like what you see in the organization like Apple and Microsoft, when they launch a product, they ask a lot of people to come and see. So they invited a lot of people to come and witness this particular product which they are already ready. And in the audience there were maybe 100 to 1,000 people. So what they did was, there was a person came uh, um, on the stage, and he started talking, and behind him there was a TV camera projected, and when he speaks everything was actually projected. So then he said, okay, we have developed this product. And what happened after that was, actually they tested whether the audience really require a product like that. So that's what they did. But actually what happened was, behind the stage there was a lady who was typing it. So there was no electronics, nothing was developed, right? When there's a typist who's really fast, when he speaks, somebody behind the stage was typing it. That's it. But the audience realized there's a product, there's a technology product already developed, and what they tested was whether they really want that product. So of course they asked a lot of questions, how much you are going to spend on this product, to all that. And what happened, what they decided later was, actually uh, not many people really wanted it. Maybe, oh, they wanted it, but not for the cost that they are going to pay. So they thought, okay, it's no point spending a lot of money in this product at this stage. Of course, they did it later. Now, of course, not only Microsoft, many companies have this feature Even Google has it. Everybody has it. But this is, I'm talking about pre, 1980, those stages. But then they, without spending a lot of money, in a small test like that, they understood whether it's really so it's a design thinking principle basically. So you can test the service in that way as well. You don't have to actually develop the product. So you need to think in a different way and show the audience that you have actually done it and test it. So you can test it in that way, also get the feedback from the customer. Hope I answered you. I mean, I can't come up with a exact way because I didn't understand your product also that well, but I mean, you should know better. Yeah, so okay, you got it, right? Okay, right, thanks. So shall we break into teams if possible?
There was just one more question, from Vamsi, what if there are high human risk at the testing stage? What kind of measures are taken?
I mean, high human risk in the sense like by medical sort of things. You have to define exactly what is high, or you are testing a bomb or something.
Vamsi, you can unmute and ask the question.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir,
Yes.
it can be a medical or a testing a bomb. It can be anything which involves a death in
Yeah,
human.
medical, yeah, it's a different ball game. But then, even if it is a medical product, you can run it through this particular test to see whether it's exactly required or not. Right? For example, I mean, I can't say that you can prototype a operation or something, or maybe putting a stent inside your heart, right? That you can't do it in this way. But then prototype is, as I said, it's a prototype, right? It's not that something you use in the entire exactly that environment, right? So maybe you can develop a heart like shape, right? Put it into your that prefabricated heart and test it. So that also a prototype, right? So you can do all that. But of course, human risk, you can't do it. I mean, you can't risk with so entire design thinking process doesn't talk about, you put something into somebody like a medical device or a medicine and test it, right? So that is out of the picture. You can't do it, right? So entire prototype is done before that, right? And then to do that, the human testing and all that, or testing, there's a separate method called, you have to first get the ethical approval, right? There's a long process, right? And after only getting the ethical approval, only you can test the product using actual humans, right? So you have to go through that process. So I'm not talking about anything of that level under design thinking, of course, but same process you can use even under ethical approval, and you can use the design thinking process as well. But first thing is first you have to get the ethical approval to do it. But by that time, the ethical approval review committee will test the product beforehand before applying it to real human tests. Got it?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That helps.
Okay. Okay.
There was
Right.
also one person raising hand,
Yeah.
Anjila Panda. You can unmute and ask the question.
Actually, I had one question. In a developing country like Nepal, like as you say, that prototyping, we can repeat it until and unless we get to the solutions. But if it is costlier to actually prototype, like how can we know that we have actually reached the better solution? Because there might always be a chance to get more better solutions in next prototyping, or maybe by testing or empathizing new people. So in that scenario, like for a developing country, like how can we solve this problem of
Yeah,
delusion?
so the design thinking process is there to reduce the cost. One of the most important feature of design thinking is basically, if you want to kill the product, you kill it fast, right? So for example, if it doesn't work, now what generally happens is, say if you say in scientific thinking scenario, you spend maybe 1 year, 2 years doing R&D, right? Costly R&D, and then only you try to take the product to market, right? By that time you have already spent the money. But here what you are trying to do is, you in fact, you even at the idea stage, you verify the product with the people who really wanted the product. So then you define the exact product, try to identify the exact product, or develop a prototype with the minimum amount of money, right? And try to understand the exact product that they want. And once that is established, only you go into next cycles of prototyping. So then by the time you establish that, you know that this product is exactly required by the market. But beforehand, if they identified, okay, as I mentioned that in the voice to chat, voice to text, example, if the audience says, okay, I don't want this product, or we are not ready to spend a lot of money, you kill the product then and there, or you wait till the technology comes to a certain level, right? So that's the method, or you use a method where it's much cheaper method. But the essentially what we are trying to do is we are reducing the spend on R&D and or pre-market product development cost. And you test it with different features, different levels. For example, you today test a product and then you pivot it, right? Next cycle, you can pivot it. So actually you are testing many products until you take the product to the market. But initial ones are very low cost, maybe just sketches initially, maybe just a very simple outer layer only, right? For example, you are looking at a product which is some electronic device, but in the first prototype there's nothing electronic inside it. You just test uh, the switching button only. And or maybe if you are developing a say app, right, or a website, in the prototype stage, maybe you are just developing it on PowerPoint only. The PowerPoint with the button, same thing. So it's just a sketch only, and you test the product, how it goes, the UX and all that, and then once everything is established, only you call the programmer to come and develop it. So then only you start spending money, right? The whole idea of design thinking is actually reduce the cost of development, and you develop or take the decision of developing or putting money for that development cycle at the last point when everything is established. Then of course you can maybe send it to China or send it to some country or send it to somewhere, get the electronics part done and develop it, right?
So it means like testing parts, and then when those parts are approved, we go for the final product, as you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, so all depends on what type of products which is in your mind, right? I mean, if you're talking about something like a spectrophotometer or something like that, you're trying to develop something, this next level of spectrophotometer, which cost about maybe 150 million, 1 million US dollars or something like that. So that's you have to take it entirely different way, right? Again, even that you can prototype certain features at a much cheaper cost, and then only you decide on spending those money. Got the idea?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
If you tell me exactly what we are trying to develop, I can guide you on that. But as I said, this particular method is used by Google X as well to develop products like Google Glass in 24 hours, by the way, right?
So it's
And
kind of a service, not a product, but it's not like it's in the development phase, and it's related with helping the youngsters of my country in mental health, maybe counseling kind of thing, counseling them. So in this counseling thing, like how will you prototype? Because it's like we can't divide it, we can make it parts, right?
so
So and also
counseling for
community. So
counseling, you are going to test the counseling method or the certain tools that you are going to use, or what is the product actually? Because
it's
are you
not
going
a
to
product,
test
it's a service. It's a service. We are providing a helpline for those who need it, and yeah, it's kind of in a rough phase. So I was just trying to get idea like how
okay,
to do
so that
prototyping.
helpline, developing that helpline, and I don't know whether it's a voice automated or I don't know how we are going to plan it. So if it is that is the case, or at the end of the day, it goes to a psychologist or whoever, or somebody at the end. So you can pre-prototype the entire process before developing it, right? Or maybe the questionnaire that they ask, right? If the counselor has to ask certain question to check the person. So all that you can prototype.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, right, okay. Shall we divide into teams?
Yes, sir, like how many minutes for the breakout rooms?
Yeah, so what will happen is I will first go through. So we we don't have to go into groups or sections, because I had to first present it, the entire flow. And so there are 10 minutes one where you have to do the prototype part. So that maybe we can group into separate groups, right? But we can have the groups ready now, but we can first work in groups. And the moment it goes to maybe prototyping stage, maybe we can divide into rooms or whatever. How do you do it on Zoom?
If that the case, like I think it's better to go for predefined like teams,
Right.
and like for that, like we only have like 4 to 5 members per team. That's the issue.
That's okay. That's okay. 4 to
Okay.
5 is it's okay. Yeah, that's okay for the time being. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is actually I will run through the process, right? And then, but think as a group, right? So if you already know the groups, and the final prototype development, maybe you can do in a particular environment. You can discuss uh, each other, 4 or 5 teams, and then develop that and get back in 10 minutes, right? Shall we do that way? Okay, so so what we're trying to do, I'll share it again. Have you heard about grand global challenges? Have you heard about this particular word? Actually, it's coined by a university called Singularity University in USA. Of course, there are various branches all over the world. So these grand global challenges are actually challenges faced by more than 1 billion people, 1 and 9 zeros, right? Not million, billion, right? So they have, actually they have more than 8. I actually picked only 8. They have about 12, I think, 12 grand global challenges. I picked only the very easiest ones where it's the picture itself shows what they are. So if there are certain thing that is issue faced by more than 1 billion people globally, that's known as a grand global challenge. Education, as you know, is a grand global challenge. Maybe you guys must be maybe the luckier ones, but we know that a lot of people globally who are not has the very basic facilities for education, right? Energy, again, a grand global challenge. Of course, we are using Zoom and electricity and all that right now, but there are many people, millions, no, billions of people who are deprived of enough energy for their day-to-day use. Environment, I mean, whether you are poor or rich, everyone face that, right? Globally is a global issue. Health, also the same. I mean, this is the exact time you can understand that because of this pandemic situation, it does not depend on how much money in your pocket. You might die even tomorrow, right? When the real issue like corona to all these issues comes, right? Of course, even before COVID, we know millions and billions of people had health issues, right? So likewise, the rest of the things, food is a big issue. Maybe we are the lucky ones here. Water is a big issue. They say that, the third world war might come because of water very soon, right? So water is a scarcity. I'm talking about the clean water, not the water that you see on the ocean. Again, ocean is getting polluting day by day. Security is an issue. Security here could be security or, your risk that you face even the day that you, I mean, every day that you walk on the street to all that particular security too. It can go up to, even your data security, all that as well, right? You can talk about very different security aspects as well, right? Poverty, as you know, is a big issue globally. There are people who can't get the basic requirements, right? They don't make enough money to get their basic requirements. So what you have to do is, as teams, pick one of these issues, right? So I won't ask you to pick all, pick maybe one issue, but is suitable for you or feel like, this is the issue that I'm going to solve. So what we are trying to do is the next maybe 1 hour, we are trying to solve one of those issues. Each team is going to solve one of those issues. So maybe we have 10 teams here. We are going to solve 10 issues. Of course, maybe all 10 teams might choose environment. That doesn't matter, right? But I would prefer if each team, if you have 10 teams here, we will choose more challenges, right? Say one team environment, one team energy, one team maybe health. So likewise, right? But it's okay. Even if the whole 10 teams select environment, I'm okay with that, right? So now I will give you, I don't know how you do it. So the teams should, can teams discuss each other?
Yes, like they are already broken into groups, so they can use their private groups into chatting and discuss.
But for that, they have to go back to the groups, right? And come back.
No, like not in WhatsApp. Like they have WhatsApp and like not in Zoom. Like they have WhatsApp and other groups already, so they can
Okay, right.
communicate in
Okay.
that.
So they can do it, right? While I'm talking, they can discuss that, right? So simple thing like selecting a challenge,
Yes, sir.
they can. Okay. Okay. So I will give you maybe, so because we have a time issue, right? We have only what, another 1 hour. So let's do it in a very tight schedule. So I'll give you maybe 1 minute for the teams to discuss and pick a challenge. Okay. So you don't have to tell me, but within the group, you decide, okay, we are going to select environment. We are going to select health. We are going to select education. We are going to select security. So likewise, select an area that you are going to solve today within this next 1 hour. Okay, time starts now. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay, I think that's more than enough. Okay, you don't have to tell but exactly the area that you're going to select. That's okay. I see some people have selected education, some have selected water. Very good. Maybe, yeah, that's great. So, so I assume that everyone has a challenge now. So what we are trying to do is now, we directly get into, of course, unfortunately, we can't now in this environment. Ideally, you have to go and empathize. Now, for example, if it's an environment problem that you select, or if you have the water problem that you have select, ideally in design thinking, you have to go and meet people who are actually facing the water problem. For example, an area where there is no drinking water, or maybe there's a place that you assume there's drinking water is there, but actually there's some problem, maybe chronic kidney disease or whatever because of the water, or people are, falling ill because of diarrhea to all that. So you have to go and meet these people. But in this particular environment, we can't do that. Yes, but actually in real design thinking methodology, if you are coming out with a solution for water, first you have to go and meet these people, right? So keep it in your mind, but let's work from beyond that and assume that you have identified the real issue, right? Of say water to health to environment, right? Or in fact, some of you may have selected this particular one because you have gone through that in your life, right? Or maybe it is something that you faced. You are one of the real case study where you actually face this issue, right? So try to understand the real problem there, or try to define the problem. So now I want all of you to maybe one thing you can do it, maybe you can individually come up with the solutions, right? Maybe many solutions that you can come up with. For example, if you selected water, individually write down on a piece of paper in front of you, as many solutions that you can think of. For example, if it is, say, water, you can think of 10 solutions. If it is health, you can think of 10 solutions. If it is energy, you can think of 10 solutions. If it is security, you can think of 10 solutions. If it is environment, you can think of 10 solutions. Right? So say corona pandemic, right? COVID-19 pandemic, what sort of solutions that you can think of. Write down as much as possible. Again, it's really time bound. I will give you only about 2 minutes. Write down as much as solutions that you can think of. And by the way, think out of the box, right? Don't limit yourself. Don't think about, okay, I'm not a doctor, so I can't come up with solutions for health. Don't think that I don't know this technical, electronics part to develop a gadget to, identify COVID-2, all that. Don't worry about that. That we will do it later, right? We will worry about that later. But now we are trying to identify the best solution, right? There can be black boxes within the solution. Don't worry. Come up with the craziest idea if you feel, right? And this is the solution for this grand global challenge. For example, I'm going to build a car out of salt water for the energy problem, something like that. Come as crazy as possible, think crazy as possible, and come up with solutions. Okay, I'll give you maybe 2 minutes. So each and everyone write as many solutions as possible. Yeah, somebody asked whether we need to define the problem first. Yeah, let's do it next. So I want to actually say defining the problem is now, say you have identified the problem. We'll get into that after that, right? So try to come up with solution. I'm trying to show you why it doesn't work, right? So come up with as much as possible. I'll give you time to define the problem later, right? Yeah, what you selected is the, say, environment, right? So you thought environment is a problem, right? Or a challenge. Now you come up with solutions. We are skipping the exact design thinking steps, but I'm going to show you why it doesn't work most of the case, but sometimes it works. So after you have write the solution, we can come back. I'll give you 2 minutes. Write down as much as possible. Another 30 seconds more. I actually do this exercise with even 12-year-olds. So generally, when I ask this same question, they write about 10 solutions in 2 minutes. Let's see whether you can do better than a 12-year-old. Okay, time's up. That's okay. Don't worry whether you have written 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, that's fine. That's okay. But do this thing, right? Before going into the individual or the group discussions, where you try to define the problem better in the group, out of what you have written, say if it is 20 or 10 or 12 or 3, that's okay. Underline the craziest idea out of what you have written and the easiest to implement as you feel. Easiest could be, maybe you can even start from tomorrow, right? Or maybe it's very easy. There's not much of money that you have to spend, right? Very easy, simple solution. So easiest to implement and the craziest idea. Craziest idea could be maybe the ideal solution for all these problems, but then I don't think you will be able to sort of come up with that in your lifetime, something like that, right? So that crazy idea, right? But underline both. I'm asking you to do this because now I'm opening up you to go and discuss among your teams. So if you come up with maybe many ideas, you will take the entire 1 hour to discuss that. So I'm giving you only 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes to try to understand the problem more, define it, and come up with the best solution as you may think after discussing it. So I will give you only 5 minutes. So just discuss the ideas. If when it comes to ideas, discuss only the ones that you are underlined, the craziest and the most easy to implement. So don't talk about all the other ideas because it will take longer time. Are you okay? So can we break into rooms or something like that? Can we do that, team? Is it possible?
Yes, it
Is
is
it
possible. Like, do you know want to
okay?
break into rooms
Okay.
now?
Shall we break into
But
the team? So what I want only 5 minutes, not more than that. So basically, you have to discuss your idea or the challenge area. Try to define it more. So
okay.
if each team can have their breakout rooms and then discuss among yourself, try to define the challenge in detail, and then try to come up with, okay, out of the solutions that you have thought about, what is the ideal one. So after the breakout session, I want each and every team to decide on a solution, one or two, or maybe at least, uh, I mean, at least one solution. Then we can go on the prototype stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the delegates, like, we have opened the breakout room. So each of the group, like for your group number, you can choose the breakout room and go into that and discuss.
So 5 minutes only, right?
Yes.
Sir, can I ask a question, please?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Sir, if I have chosen the global grand challenge related to education, which
Yes.
breakout room I have to choose?
No.
Uh,
No.
Basically,
As a
like, go.
team, you have to select, right? I thought you already decided as a team.
Yes.
So you should be in that team. So
Okay.
I thought you can't individually select a grand global challenge. That's what we discussed, right? The team should
Okay.
decide on grand global challenge. Okay, let's break out.
Yeah. Breakout rooms are open, guys. Like, you can go into the relevant breakout room. Yeah, already the breakout rooms are open and like for your team number, so you can go into the breakout rooms and for your team numbers accordingly.
All right, thanks. Thank you.
So assign in the breakout room.
Everyone is here, I guess.
Okay, great. So I hope that everyone had a chance to go through their challenges, define it, the challenge it a bit more deeper, and also get back on a probable solution, discuss your solutions that you have already come out individually and discuss that, and select one as the solution. I hope you have done that by now. So next step is I will go through. So this is just the normal rapid prototyping the process, right? So just for your understanding. I mean, we did that. We formed a group. Maybe you already done the brainstorming. You select an idea. So next steps would be to go to prototype stage, right? So prototype stage. Now again, there are various methods of prototyping. You can actually build something which is very difficult to do, especially on via Zoom, right? Because you have to actually get engaged. The only way possible here is maybe you can do a sketch, right? Again, say if you have 4 people in the team, maybe one person can sketch it and sketch the whole solution as a group. Of course, the others can put the ideas maybe in a very simple way. Don't come up with too many slides. Maybe just one slide is enough, or maybe you can draw it and hold it uh, with the other team. So you can just draw it and show this is the sketch of the solution. So that's more than enough. Very simple solution, right? So I will give you maybe another 7 minutes for you to discuss about the solution that you selected for the group and sketch it in a nicer way. So then, of course, at the end of the day, you have to explain that to us, right? So use only that particular slide, or you don't have to go onto a slide. Maybe you can just draw it on a piece of paper and hold it. That's fine, but in a very simple way. So I'll give you, so let's go back to the breakout rooms, discuss that, sketch the solution, what you're trying to, how you're going to solve this grand global challenge, whatever that you picked, and get back. So we'll go for maybe 7 minutes, right? Any questions? Maybe you can ask. I can see a, yeah, only one solution, right? So as a team, a solution, one solution for the selected challenge in the group. So we don't have time to discuss many solutions. So just go for one. As a group, as a team, you have to select one solution and elaborate on that in the simplest way as a sketch. How to sketch services? Services you can show like in a diagram, process diagram or something. First you do this, then go to next. Likewise, eh? Service you can draw it in as a process. Okay, shall we break out back to the same rooms?
It's already broken. Like many has gone into their rooms.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll revert it within maybe next. We'll give it 7 minutes and we'll revert back. Okay, right, thanks. Are we back? Okay, hope everyone is back. So as groups, you have actually developed something like probably the earliest prototype that you can think of, like a sketch, right? Everyone has a solution that you can solve all these grand global challenges. Super, right? So just a matter of implementing them now, right? We can solve all these problems. So yeah, so I would like to go through some of them. I know there are quite a few teams, maybe 20, closer to 20 teams, I guess, but we don't have time to go through all that. But what I want to highlight is that if you go through the rapid prototyping process, this is what you get. This last 3, in fact, very simply, testing. in design thinking, right? So basically, so obviously you can't do this some of the activities, but then what you are trying to do is actually you showcase your solution and show that to as many people, maybe your probable customers, to users, to all that, and get feedback. So it's a feedback loop, it's a testing loop, right? So I would like to do that. I will not be able to do it for all the groups, but let's pick few teams. Perhaps if any team is ready to go, they can go first. I can see one raised hand. How do you read them?
Uh, it's a team matrix from.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, team.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good
Yeah.
morning.
So our
By the way, sorry,
problem
give me a second. I will give you only 2 minutes, right?
oh, shit. Okay. All right. So the
Explain in 2
problem,
minutes. Yeah.
yeah. The problem we defined was the accessibility of the resources available in English to the regional areas which are not much aware of the language, and hence they do not have the access to huge resources uh, which are available in English. So what we like thought of doing was hire local educators who are like who have the knowledge of English and like build their capacity and ask them to educate
By the way,
the
if you want to share something, you can share. If you given the rights, you can share as well. I mean, your
I mean
sketch.
I did not like make a slide or anything. I wrote it in my diary.
That's
So
fine. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
I can share the picture in the
Yeah,
delegates
that's
group.
fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so basically the idea is to like record the videos which the local educators will create for the youth, like the younger kids, and then like provide those video lectures to the the older ones who do not like who do not like to study or who do not like to learn, because for the mindset is which we feel is we are earning the enough to make two meals a day. Why do we need to learn, right? And so in that so we can incentivize this by providing something like the hours you watch the videos, you will get I mean some equivalent amount of food or something like that.
I think his person connections.
Yeah, that's okay. Maybe at that time, maybe another team can, if another team, I saw 2 hands or quite a few hands. So maybe another team can.
Second person to raise hand was Team Phoenix.
So again, take only 2 minutes.
So we chose education as well, and our problem was poor access to education due to lack of technology or poverty or remoteness or inequality. So the solutions, the craziest solution that we thought about and the easiest we thought about was giving back. What is it? What is this giving back? Well, the celebrities and the top leaders of our country, Nepal, they can work for 6 days in a week, but one day they will contribute to the society by educating those communities who are lacking behind, who don't have proper knowledge and training. So they will voluntarily work for the education, and this will be a kind of trend. And if it becomes a trend, then all of the people in the country will be motivated to educate one another and to help one another learn and grow further. And we have also thought that if celebrities take this step, then there will be a lot of sponsorships. So by the help of those sponsorships, we can actually afford the educational materials, the laptops or the technology, and donate it to the community for their education and help their children, and this will solve so many problems. So that was our idea. Thank you.
Excellent. So I open up. Maybe even others can ask the question. So one question that I would like to see is uh, the solution looks really good, but then how do you select people? How do you I mean, of course, I can tell that I can teach, say, electronics engineering, but I may not know anything about electronics, or maybe I don't know how to teach it, right? So likewise, how do you do that selection process?
Well, it's not necessary for the technological or technical background, because maybe I might be actor and I might want to teach them the skills regarding storytelling. Being a cricketer, I might tell them the attitude and learnings regarding how can we manage the team, how can we handle the pressures and things like that. And basic primary education, I think most of the people have it. So it's not about the degree, the bachelor's or undergraduate or graduate degree, but the primary and secondary education, which we are still lacking behind in our country. We are trying to focus on that. And if this trend happens, definitely for sure those people who are really very expert in the field of as you said, electrical engineering and so on, they will also be motivated to contribute one day of their week, and they will be, I mean, privileged to do that. Yeah, I hope I
Okay.
answered your question.
Okay, thanks. So let's move on to the next person. Yeah, whoever that is.
Uh, yeah, and like Team Matrix has like joined back. Are we going to that person or that new one?
Yeah, let's give 1 minute and describe your solution. Yeah, not more than that.
Team
Yes.
Matrix.
So the problem we are trying to solve here is so the student to teacher ratio is very high in our country, and also at the same time we want to target the government schools, because in India government schools are highly subsidized. Since we have COVID as a situation here, we can pitch an idea and collaborate with the government for subsidizing or providing devices free to people who are studying in government schools, so that they'll be the pipeline. So we are here creating the lectures in regional language, so that those can be recorded and can be later used even post pandemic for people who are studying the same class. So here we are reducing the gap of the problem, that is there are less teachers and a lot of children. At the same time, the accessibility of digital problem. So by creating these particular resources, this can be free for people who are studying in government schools. At the same time, this can be used as a business model to provide education in regional language to other schools, so that it will be financially viable. At the same time, since it is something which is solving a very big problem, there is a high chance that government will be more interested to subsidize something like this. So we thought of a couple of incentives, as I mentioned. That is, one is providing a free device that can be like a motivation to children to join in. And we see this as a perfect time to put this solution forward, because we are in a situation where we have to adapt digitally, so that once children will adapt themselves digitally here, that will be useful post pandemic to complement the practices that are there, and this can be like a good case practice even post pandemic, is what we thought.
Okay, okay, thanks. So this particular, say, if I'm one of the contributors, say I'm doing a video or something on certain subject, do I get paid for that, or is it all altruistic?
No, it will be part of the job description that government teachers already have. And as I told, this will be highly subsidized by government, because this is something that is invested in long term. So this will be addition to the work that these teachers are doing. At the same time, this will, like, some financial incentive will be obviously pitched because they are doing extra work. So this is how we thought.
Okay, good, very good. Okay, let's move on to another group, or another person.
Yes. So next group is group Metatron.
Okay, hello, it's Metatron here. We thought of poverty as a great problem, and we also thought of food as a great problem. So we tried to connect poverty and food. Our craziest ideas were like education and habit. Like people tend not to get themselves educated because of their habit, because of their thinking process. And our easiest idea was to provide food, and that could be done through if we have some financial resources. So how to get the financial resources to provide food to the people and lure them and change their habit and turn them into education. So we can do an overall development of a community that is poor. That was our idea. So, if there is a financial problem, then surely there would be no food. So, if there's no food and we notice if the people are sleeping hungry, we can have NGOs and all those organizations, non-government organizations, which work selflessly to come up with an idea and prepare a kind of event where they can include media and telecast it on televisions and radios too for people to understand what is the problem. After hearing the problem, there would be a lot of people who would like to help out the poor people, but this could also be brought into a limelight by the media and political people, the political representatives could be questioned that there are people who are so poor and not looked, so they could be targeted. And once political representatives are targeted, they will tend not to lose this limelight and let this issue go. Therefore, they would try to get some kind of financial transaction done by the government for the upliftment of these people and provide them food. So when this is done, this money will not directly be directed into people's account or political representatives account, since they tend not to help people but cheat on them. So rather it would be directed to the superintendents or the police officers. They can turn that money and purchase food grains, and that could be distributed among the poor people. So that is what we were thinking of.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Any questions that somebody wants to ask on the solution given? If not, we can go for the next team, whoever that is.
There seems to be no questions, right? So the next
Yeah,
team
let's
would
go to
be
the next team.
Team Rocket.
Hello, can I share my screen?
Yes, you are able to.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, then our idea, we also started with, we are also thinking about, we also wanted to help in the educational sector. So what we'll do is we'll have a group of youth who will provide educational training to unemployed youth in a rural area. For that, firstly, what we'll do is we'll go to that area, rural areas. The main Team Rocket, that our group will go to the rural areas, as you can see here. And then what we'll do is we'll do the survey in that area, and we'll find out how many unemployed educated youths are there. And based on that survey, we'll take those youths and we'll try to educate them on a monthly basis. Like at first month, we may teach them in a certain topic, and second month we may teach them in another topic, right? And based on those education we provide, what happens to that is that those unemployed educated youth can also get employment because of us, and they can also provide education to all the underprivileged group of students who are there in rural areas. Like in Nepal, what happens is that there are schools in many areas, but we are thinking in context of our country, Nepal, where we have seen rural people, like a rural area where education, like students are not able to get education, right? So that's the context. So we'll go to that area, and then there are schools, but schools are limited in that area. So what we'll do is this group of people will go to, we'll start teaching these students who cannot go to school due to geographical difficulties or economical problems. They will teach them in a certain area, like you can imagine, like in previous few years back, like 1000 or 2000 years back, what used to happen is that rishis used to give education in front of a tree, right? Like a people's tree or something like that. So these group of people can be a gurus, and they can be a students who do not need to pay certain money to these students. And our funding will be managed by NGOs and INGOs group and local governments, because since we are doing some impactful work, and if we can raise the funding from INGOs and NGOs, then I think this will help overall, help in educating the overall students in Nepal. And we also thought about collaborating with, we also wanted to do try online education, but since there is no internet access in most of the areas and no any communication companies has gone there, we thought about collaborating with another company, but that would not be possible because we would be depending too much on them. So that's why we came up with this solution. So that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. When you discuss that particular solution in your group, 4 or 5 or whatever the number, any negative sides came in that discussion?
Negative side, maybe like the trust may be a negative side. Like randomly, if we teach a certain group of people, no parents may actually give their student, their children to a certain group of people, right? Like we taught those unemployed people, but what is their credibility to the parents? That's the negative part that we have, but I think we can work on that solution in the future.
Okay, so I'm just giving you some ideas now. When you go through the design thinking process, you make sure that you show your idea at prototype level to test it, especially to the people who empathize, right? For example, in this case, it's education. You have to show this idea for maybe underprivileged children or whoever who really want this system to be used. But make sure that you get not just the positive feedback, but also as much as possible the negative feedback as well. So it's not only the end users, but also maybe you have to show this to various other stakeholders as well. So try to get as much as possible the negative feedback as well, because that's what you need to fine tune the process in the next design thinking process. Before really getting into developing the product, you should know what are the negative aspects as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's move on to, yeah, thanks. So let's move on to the next idea.
Yes, so the next team is Team edX.
Hi, sir. Is my screen visible?
Hi, yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
So we're also trying to solve education. So right now we just named it Solving Ed, and our main core concept is an open school and open classes where there's not an actual timetable or there's not a strict rigid format of classes going on. What this breaks is this breaks the norm of the education right now, and it tries to experiment with how the education is being conducted. So what happens here is the classes are open in the sense the sessions are split, and it's differentiated using subjects, not using a timetable or a schedule. So what this does is students who are interested in science can spend more time on science and shift themselves, but the validation still stays intact because the examinations are not changed, but only the way they study is made bit more open and bit more free so that they can move around. So an example would be where there is a science class and science class is open for all. So anybody who wants to go to science class can go in the starting of the session and let the professor finish. And what all this also does is it allows that a normal classroom to be broken down and to be actually specialized. So till now only sports class is specialized for most of the schools, where it's actually something different from four walls and a blackboard. So planting class can be having a lot of plants in it, and explanation can be done in a very much organic way. So this breaks that norm of a simple classroom with four walls and teaching in that sense, in a very theoretical sense. It breaks that norm, and it allows people to explore more. That's our idea, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So anybody, any question? So everyone is on education.
Yes, sir. That's our biggest problem.
Yeah, in a pandemic, and everybody's trying to only focus on education, but maybe that's true as well, right? That's the biggest problem that you guys must be facing right now, right? Okay, anyone? Yeah, on food. Somebody's on food. So shall we go into that team? I'm not
Yes,
undermining education, but I just want to see other ideas.
It's Team Rock. They are on foot.
Okay, let's have a maybe 2 minutes because we are running out of time. We have only 15 minutes more. So let's maybe discuss 6 or 7 teams from different challenges.
Okay, sure. So then Team Rock, you can present your idea. Team Rock challenges, are you there?
Yeah, hello. We are here. So we decided our topic as food. So we think food is a very basic necessity in this world, and we think that food can be connected with a lot of things. So we decided on solving it on a community level. So we could provide with a community garden where people could come up, could grow the grains and the vegetables of fruits which are very easily it can be sowed and they can grow it. And then also at the same time, because we see food can also be pointed as a major attraction, so people could come up and we could provide them midday meals, and students can also come. So it could be a huge community garden basically where everything is provided and the main attraction for them would be food. So we would be solving education, we would be solving health. There would be a health camp set up which could provide the basic testing for the children and the people of that community and that area, where they would be tested for their BMIs, their normal blood routine checkups, etc. For the community doctors which are ready to do some good social work, they could help in that. Then we have the government schools that are obviously there in many areas, as they already provide midday meals, but then providing it to a level where it is actually accessible and reaching to all the children, so children are coming there. So again, that will be a good thing. And then we have the community garden where people will just provide food to the basic as a basic necessity for people who want it, and all the people can come together and it will help the community at large. So I think that is how we can help food problems, because malnutrition and starvation are the basic two problems that the world faces when it comes to food. So I think we could help with that.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Great idea. Very good. So in the interest of time, let's hear a team from maybe water.
Yes. Yes. So Team on water, the ways for go. Can you check?
Hello, sir. Water is the limited resource that we have today. So, in so many ways, the water is getting waste and getting mixed with the ocean without a use, such as eutrophication water and water which is getting pollution by fabric dyes and everything. So, what we are planning to do is we are going to build a prototype which can filtrate those toxic and fabric metals, everything, and get the fresh water from it. And I'm not going to tell that we are going to consume that water, but I have another plan. What we are going to do is heat the water to 100 Celsius to get the H2O gas, and we are densing it to get the distilled water, which we can provide them to labs and get a income. So that's the idea.
Excellent. Great. Is it done anywhere in your country? I mean, or something similar to that?
I didn't check those things. Just I got
Okay.
a sketch of
Just
this
check that.
idea now at the moment.
Yeah, just check that either in your country or maybe some other country whether it's already done. Because that if the competition is there, remember, if somebody else has already done it, remember it's good. So don't think that if your idea is the only idea in the world, then it is good. Generally, it's really bad. If nobody has thought about your idea, there's a bigger chance that your idea also going to get failed. But if somebody else also trying to do something or similar, or there's competition for your idea, then it's easy to implement. Remember that, right? So these are some tips if you want to innovate. Sometimes competition is although it's a challenge, competition is always good. Okay, shall we go on to a health solution? I can see a couple of them.
Yes, the first person to choose health was Trojans of Change.
Hi, good morning.
Team Trojans of Change.
Hello,
Yeah, what do you?
am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay,
Yes.
so our crazy idea was that we were going to remove privilege from hospitals. Like, there's lots of cases where, if, for example, if two patients walk in and one of them is rich, one of them is poor, and they both have the same problem. I mean, maybe the poor person even has a worse problem, but the preference is always given to the rich person. So obviously that's a very hard thing to deal with. So our easy idea was that we should improve the environmental hygiene in general, like something that we see a lot in Karachi, that colleges and universities hold. We hold a lot of beach cleanups. So instead of just sorry, can I share a picture? Hello.
Sorry.
Not
I
clear.
would like to share a picture if it's possible.
Yes, please. Yeah, I think she want to
Okay.
share something, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
you are able to share. Just
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just a quick something that we put together. The beaches here, they're very, very dirty. I mean, it's very sad to see that something so beautiful that nature has provided us um, is being misused so badly. So just like that, the streets, the mountainous areas, the villages, they're all very, I guess you could say, very covered in trash. So for the youth to step up and take care of this problem, to arrange regular cleanups, it's a very basic thing, but it's the first step towards taking care of our hygiene, because um, a lot of small diseases are very um, people tend to catch a lot of diseases from these piles of trash that are everywhere. So yeah, that was our basic idea.
Yeah, very good. So I think in Sri Lanka we faced something of larger magnitude, something similar to that.
Yeah, I've been to Sri Lanka. It's better than here, but still, yes, everywhere has this issue.
Okay, thank you very much. So maybe one last team, perhaps, preferably from an area that we did not talk about earlier. Any team, I'm okay.
most of the things are from food and poverty and health,
Anyone
right?
on energy, environment? Of course, what you mentioned was earlier was connected to environment, but maybe energy, maybe if not, it's okay. Maybe we can give another chance to another team from maybe health or water.
Okay, then yeah, we can give chance to Team Unplug.
Yeah.
Yeah, on what? Team Unplugged, are you there? Oh.
Yeah, okay, so can I share my screen?
Yes, sure, you can share.
So yeah, so our proposal or our prototype involves rainwater collection. We derive it on an idea that involves the water cycle. Why don't we utilize the water cycle to supply water to people who have insufficient supplies? So our problems are, water scarcity. Uh, 1.1 billion people have little to no access to clean water, and also toxic water, which is pollutants in our freshwater supplies, affect the sufficiency of water to households. The overview, this is just the model that we have think. we have thought the rainwater system innovation presents as an alternative to collect water through rain. The innovation here is in the pump, which is seen in the illustration. We will have like filter to to eliminate the toxins or the viruses that may be present in our rainwater or in the tubes that is involved. So the filter would act as a filter to for rainwater to be used in various purposes and even in drinking. For now, rainwater collection prototyping. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are only 3-4 minutes away from the scheduled time. So I would like to thank you, everyone. So I hope I gave you some idea, some pointers about what is design thinking. So as I mentioned earlier, so design thinking is running this entire process over again and again. You empathize, define the problem better, then you ideate that, and then of course you do a prototype, very initial prototype, what you have done, like a sketch or something. Then you test it with the same people that you empathized, or maybe show it to many stakeholders, discuss, fine tune, and then you do the same process over again and again. And each time your prototype has to be improved in terms of focusing on the negative sides that you receive, so you improve on that aspects. And also your prototype should be closer to a solution where actually people can use. So that's the whole design thinking model. And as you can see, this is an open innovation model. Nothing that you're going to hide. You tell everything. Now generally what happens is, when you get a super idea, people tend to hide your idea. You don't want to share that. Even the old age R&D model also, that you do everything in a closed system, and then only you put it to the market. But in design thinking, it's a more open innovation model. So there's nothing that you hide. You give your ideas to outsiders even at very early stage. But then the model where design be successful is that you do it really fast, and you do it the exactly what is required by the users, and a very fast approach. So then competitors can't beat you. So that's the model used in design thinking. And in fact, this is the model used by a lot of innovative companies globally. uh, uh, the most innovative companies globally, they accept this is the best method for innovation. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you learned something, but uh, I hope that everyone will practice design thinking in their ventures, their startups, their innovations, their projects. So thank you for the opportunity, Isaac, as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Heminder. Like, it was really engaging and really like insightful session. I think everyone learned how to do design thinking, and everyone like really experienced doing it. Like, even though this is a virtual space and people are from where many different countries, they had this chance thanks to you. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation and doing this session for us. And moving on to the agenda, next is a lunch break. So you guys will have a 1 hour lunch break, and after that 1 hour you can join back to the main plenary for our next session, which will be also another session with an amazing personality. And also the Mr. Heminder's email is provided in the chat, and also our group, so you can reach him out for any consultancy. And with that note, I'll wrap this up session, and see you after 1 hour.